So Seth has nominated Lisa. Do we have a second?
Kristen Ross, I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Well, okay, congratulations, Lisa, board chair, and I now turn it back over to you, so.
Nominations for vice chair.
Maybe I'm trigger happy, but I'd be happy to nominate Jim if he would be so inclined to carry on with the duty, but not so sure how he feels
So
about
Jim isn't
discussion.
with us.
it. Okay.
There's 2 new board members actually from West Rutland,
Okay.
along with Tom. I'm not.
I'd nominate Tom.
No. Thanks for the nomination, but I don't have the temperament for that. But maybe we should go around and everybody introduce themselves. Who we have and who we don't have, and is everybody on now, or because Proctor has some new members also, correct?
We don't. We have 2 openings, Tom, but no one ran. So actually, we just put out the invitation to submit letters of interest. So currently, it's just me. So from Pulteney, I think everyone is the same. So we have Kristen Ross, Kristen Whitman, Nate, and Seth. And from West Rutland, we have Tom. And then we have 2 new members, Jessica Grabowski, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes, yes, it is.
And Mike Mosher.
Welcome to the new folks. Thank you for running and volunteering your time. We appreciate you.
So we're still seeking a nomination for vice chair.
Seth.
So Tom nominates Seth. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I kind of like that child's opinion.
Any opposed? Welcome, Seth, as vice chair.
Thanks.
Clerk. I would nominate Kristen Ross as clerk. She's done a lovely job of helping us take minutes. And I know how much she enjoys that.
And I am happy.
I would second that.
All right. Seconded by Kristen Whitman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the remaining members of the board, we'll fill that out. Everyone received the template in their, so remaining members would be Nate, Tom, Michael, Jessica, and Kristen Whitman. GRCSU voting members. Historically, for new members, we have 1 board member from each community go to the GRCSU. So I would be going from Proctor. So 1 person from Pulteney, 1 person from West Rutland.
So this is Kristen from Pulteney. I am had asked if Seth would like to be that representative. At least I'm glad to be an alternate, but my schedule in the fall during budgeting time is going to be a little more up in the air. So he agreed to do that. So
Okay,
when
so
he can make
Seth.
it, I'm glad to be alternate.
Okay. And then someone from West Rutland.
Did we normally have 3? I thought it was only 2 from our board that went. Maybe
No.
I'm crazy.
Everyone has 3 that goes to the SU.
Oh, okay. I think Mr. Mosier would like to do that.
Okay. So Michael Mosier, Seth, and myself. Set the regular meeting schedule. The 3rd Monday at 6 o'clock, still okay with everyone?
Okay for me.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you will stay with the 3rd Monday at 6 o'clock. Set the annual board retreat. Hopefully we can do something this year, maybe in July. So maybe that's something we could look at in April, if that's okay with everybody. All right.
Sounds good.
Set the date of the annual meeting. So that would be the 22nd, correct? 2/22/22 this coming year. Chris?
Yes, sorry, I was muted.
Okay. All right, so that's and a motion to affirm the use of Robert's rules for small boards would be in order.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nice.
Everyone should have received a copy of the VSBA Code of Ethics that you receive every year. If you can sign that and at your leisure, drop it off at your school to go to the central office. And your building administrator, I think, could probably send it in with stuff. So you could probably put it in an envelope and send it in with your child to the office if you have a child. Identify locations where agendas and minutes will be posted. We post at the post offices, schools, and libraries in West Rutland, Proctor, and Poultney. And affirm the choice of attorney. So a motion would be in order to continue with Chris Leopold as the board attorney.
Kristen Ross, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right. Second by Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We'll continue to use the Rutland Herald as our media source outlet for all media source outlet needs. A motion will be in order to authorize the administration to request and expend available grant funds from the Agency of Education as well as state and federal funds.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Michael, second by Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. A motion would be in order to authorize the board to borrow funds for the Unified School District pending receipt of payments from State Education Fund.
This is Kristen Ross. I'll move to authorize to borrow.
Okay, second.
Second.
Second by Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. A motion would be in order to authorize the board chair to sign director's orders and other documents on behalf of the board as necessary.
I'll make a motion that the board chair can do that.
Second,
Kristen Ross, I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Subcommittees, Finance Committee. I don't think we did Finance Committee last year. We all did the budget as one. So do you want to designate Finance Committee or do you want to pass on that? I'm seeing head shaking, pass on that, and
So
the
Lisa, the
board
other
will-
boards the boards did approve a candidate for Wellsprings and Rutland Town. So
Oh, for the SU budget? then?
yeah, just in case the finance committee would decide to meet this year, they had a candidate in place.
Okay. So would someone like to be the candidate? Nate?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Nate will be our candidate for Finance Committee.
Thank you, Nate.
Negotiations. I would like to stay on negotiations. We're going to start again next month, but it's nice to have someone else. The excitement is overwhelming for committees.
Can I make a suggestion and maybe go through the committees that are there and then maybe people will volunteer so everybody knows what committees are available?
Sure. So we still have the Policy Committee, Buildings and Grounds, and Hiring Committee. So would anyone like to be on the Policy Committee? Kristen Whitman, weren't you on the Policy Committee?
I am. Yep. I can continue to do that. Or if somebody
Okay.
else wants to do it, either way. But I'm happy to do it.
Anyone like to be Buildings and Grounds?
I'll take that one.
Tom? Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to get in on that as well, Lisa. Seth.
On Buildings and Grounds?
Yeah.
Okay, so Seth and Tom. How about someone else on Policy with Kristen Whitman?
This is Kristen Ross. I can do that.
Okay. Negotiations.
I'll volunteer for that.
Okay. And Hiring Committee. We have one on there. I don't know that we haven't done it that way, but
Sorry, Lisa. What do you mean that we have one on there?
it lists one for the Hiring Committee, but we didn't have a Hiring Committee last year. I think that as hires come through, building principals have sent out to see who was available, particularly the way we're doing it now with Google Meets and like that. Because like I just sat on a committee and you could set for, a couple of hours. So you have to be able to flush out some time.
Mhm.
So I'll put my name down and we'll kind of continue status quo as it comes along. We'll send it out to the board as we have. Is that okay with everyone? Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
All right. Approval of the agenda. A motion would be in order to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second by Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. General public comments. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak to an issue that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business, school choice. Chris?
So we had, in the past, always had a cap on our school choice. I think it was last year was 6 in, 6 out. And in looking at the statute, but it's technically said by February 1st, we should have put a cap on, you have to vote on annually. So we did not do that. So what I'm asking the board to do is take a look at that tonight. My recommendation would be to look at an increase across our 3 buildings from 10 to go from 6 in, 6 out. And I know Polton was 8 in, 8 out to 10 in, 10 out. I think as we look at the interest in our schools, that we have an opportunity to continue to grow and allow students to take advantage of some of the great things we have going on. I think it'd be great to expand that opportunity. So with the approval of the board tonight for 10 in, 10 out, what we do is retroactively go back to the lottery that we had last week and just notify families of that they have expanded opportunities.
Any discussion, concerns with upping it to 10? I think if you remember last year, building principals came and particularly Joe from Polton had asked us to increase this year to 10. And we have had a great deal of interest, I think, in our building. So if there's no discussion, a motion would be in order to increase school choice to 10 in, 10 out.
I'll make the motion to increase school choice to 10, 10 out.
Second.
I just want to clarify, just have a clarifying question real quick before we vote.
Sure.
Is that 10 in, 10 out for all schools or specifically for Polteny? Like, because I know we had
Each
different
school.
numbers. Each school. Okay, thanks.
So it'd be for 10 for West Rutland, 10 for Proctor, 10 for Polteny.
Yep. So motion for 10 in, 10 out for each school. For each.
Okay, seconded by Tom. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. New business, websites. So I don't know how often board members go on the websites, but I guess I thought when we hired the website person, the websites would look a lot different. And I also thought there would be some level of continuity, particularly across Quarry Valley. I mean, I understand we belong to an SU and Wells Springs and Rutland Town might have their own look, but particularly within Quarry Valley, that there would be some level of continuity. So the tabs would be similar, the information would be similar. And I feel like that, I guess they're kind of sloppy in my opinion. There's really no other way to say it. And as I just pulled up Proctor site now, and I go, it doesn't even list the Quarry Valley Board. It lists Rutland Town and the GRCSU. And I have had a conversation with Greg this week, so some things have got changed because for the longest time, Rutland Town information was on Proctor's site. So I guess maybe it's just me that I have a higher expectation since we designated someone for this. And the
Lisa.
SU person wanted it to be funneled through the SU when everything had been local at each board level or each school level where things had moved a little smoother. And I just don't feel like there's I guess I just don't see them as this polished look that I had anticipated there being. So I don't know. That's just my perception when I look at them. And some of them look good.
Lisa, I would concur. I've been kind of watching these about every 4 months. I kind of look on and I would say all the same things that you said. I feel like if I pretend to be a naive townsperson or a potential prospective parent wanting to come into a particular town and a particular school, you're not necessarily going to be drawn to, oh, I want to be part of this supervisory union. I mean, especially if it's an incoming Vermont to Vermont move, because everyone's so focused still on local control and towns. People here in Pullman don't even know what Grixu is still, right? So it just seems like some of the parts of the website are great. Some of the individual school highlights are great, but yeah, I would agree. I couldn't find stuff that I wanted to find just for Quarry Valley specifically. I just don't think it's well. I had high expectations as well after we hired someone, and I've been trying to sort of be patient because I know that there's a lot of backlog after that person was hired, and a lot goes into these, and then with COVID and everything else. So I'm starting to get back to being more impatient again. So I would like to see movement on this in some way. So that's my 2 cents.
Yes.
So do we think at the next meeting, maybe, Chris, we could have Greg and perhaps Shannon join us at a Quarry Valley meeting? And I'm sorry, Seth, go ahead.
No, if they're going to join us, that's fine. I just also typically I'm looking at the websites from either a actual computer or an iPad. And just a week ago, I went onto one of them just on my phone, and the format's not very nice on the phone either. I mean, it's not one of those situations where things are overlapping on each other, but it's just there's a ton of blank white space, and it's just a very unattractive, unappealing from a marketing perspective. So that's all.
Yeah, I guess I just feel like there's a lot of things going on in every school. And every time I see where it says no upcoming events on a slide, I find that to be a big turnoff. And the other piece is I think that there are loads of pictures being taken even during COVID about things that I'm really not that interested in seeing stock photos on the websites. I find that to be really putting off. And I have had people that are looking not specifically at Proctor, but at schools within Quarry Valley, and have just said how it's really very difficult to navigate and find information. So I think it might be a good idea to have them come to a meeting if other people think that would be, and maybe they could kind of explain what the timeline looks like, or if this is what the end product is going to be.
The other thing, sorry, Chris, the other thing I'd like to hear on top of that is what the mechanism is. So is there someone designated in each building to be the funneler of information? And if that person, a lot of our front offices have fewer and fewer staff, and they have a lot to do. Same with principals. So maybe we should think about, if that is the issue, getting the information is a huge piece of this, but it's not the only piece. Maybe we need to think about a different alternative process to do that. And Christy, it looks like you wanted to chime in too.
Address it. So right now, the way the websites are, it's not local control. Like my front office, like I can email something to Shannon, but Shannon has to upload it. So I am going to defend the principals a little bit, just because we don't have local control over it. So we're just working as an SU to get some continuity. So I do think it's definitely something we're all agreeing with the board members on for sure. And we do have loads of pictures that we're waiting for to be uploaded as well. But I am going to defend the schools because it's not our front offices.
And if I can just chime in as well, we have had some meetings scheduled and they were not able to happen for one reason or another, but we are using our library media specialist has been the one who's trying to keep things current in regard to menus and letters and things like that. So that's where we're at.
Okay. I see Mike has raised his hand.
Yeah, I like that.
People raising their hand.
Okay. Maybe we should find out if there is a mechanism by which a part of the page may be under local control, so that the updated calendar events, sports events, whatever, there's a portion of that website that the local principals and administrators can get into. So that might keep it more current. They don't necessarily have to do it. So that might be a reflection on, them. But at least it gives them a chance to say, hey, here we are, this is what we're doing. And then maybe have a more formal part that the SU does, which is the heavy navigation, if you will.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Jay?
Mike, I'm going to follow that up. So I tend to be rather impatient. So we actually do have some local control at West Rutland. Lynn Ackerman in the office has been busy trying to upload some stuff to make sure, because I'm with what the board has said. Website needs to be up to date. It needs to be current. And Joe Harrington wants to make sure that obviously all of our practices and sports and other events are listed. So we have a little hybrid right now, but I would say that there is room for improvement.
Just one quick update from my side. After making a couple more clicks, we definitely have words overlapping each other on menus, and you can't read them and things like this on a mobile device. So it's really, I would expect it to be able to handle at least all the common devices that people would have.
So I think we're all in agreement that the websites need work. I know, Kristen, you said that this is not the end product by any stretch. I think I would like to actually see a committee of some sort be formed, which actually oversees not just websites but other social media. Because I think we look at communications and how do we work with community members in terms of the local Poultney, West Rutland, Proctor, as well as the greater Rutland County community in terms of the great things that are going on. I think the mechanism is not working. I think there are a variety of reasons. I know that we have some local, some not local. It's inconsistent at best. I think so I think we really need to tighten this up. I've had numerous conversations with Greg and Shannon about this, but I would like to see a more formal approach. And I think if I have no problem giving up another evening or two with some board members and administrators in terms of how better to do this, because as I said, the website is like the first stop for a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of things we can do. We can, embed video, we can embed all sorts of media, just about, really make it highly attractive. So when someone comes in and says, hey, let's see what's going on in one of our schools, they really look at it and say, hey, that looks great. Like, I want my kid to go there. They're very proud of that. And I think, like I said, our community members have just passed a budget, but I think they want to see what they're getting from their money's worth. And I think, when they look at the website, they're not seeing that. So I think it's a way for us to do it. I think, so I'm not trying to throw more work on our plate, but like I said, I would welcome the inputs. I think it'd be a more hands-on approach from, like I said, board members or administrators, and really kind of iron this out. And we can have, if we spend as much time, as we do with policy, as we did with this, I think we could really get the websites nailed down. So I don't know what everybody's thoughts are on that, but.
I was just going to chime in that I fully support that. And I know I haven't been on the board that long, but we've had this conversation many times. But if it really comes down to a short staff, I see this as an opportunity for our students. I mean, I don't know if we can't reach out to them or get them involved to be doing some of this legwork, but this would be wonderful for them. Like Chris talking about embedding video, things like that. I mean, we know that students in our schools would be great at some of this, so maybe we can see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I think there just needs to be some kind of formal manner in which that would happen, and who the one person is that would oversee that within the building to push the button that says that whatever we're uploading is A-okay. Mike, did you have something else? No. Okay. So are you suggesting, Chris, that we form a committee along with Greg and Shannon, building administrators, and a couple board members? Was that your suggestion?
I think that would be beneficial. Yes.
Okay.
I think we have a lot of good ideas here. I think welcome to feedback, but a more formal process as opposed to taking notes here once a month. I think if we could meet, once, twice a month, just continually review the the website and offer suggestions, feedback, and then, have a better understanding of the mechanisms, in place. I think we can really design a process, and I think we can parlay this into, I think, as Kristen said, great student opportunities as well. So,
Okay, so are there a couple board members that would be interested in giving up another evening to set with building administrators, Greg and Shannon, to, kind of create a formal process about how that would happen in each building, and how there would be that level of continuity and get across all buildings, and that it would look accessible and professional, I guess, on whatever device it is that you're looking on.
Lisa, can we add a sort of a subcommittee to our list there? Because I think this goes beyond just
that's what I'm
like,
suggesting.
yeah, okay. So like even on social media stuff, consistency there too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening right now with people getting in trouble on social media, including board members. So, across the country, that's been in the news a lot. So, it'd be good to sort of combine, some communications effort, I think would be good.
Yeah, would it be
Sure. So
appropriate
we
to call it
could, what if we said a communication committee, and that would look at social media, website? So a couple people interested in.
I don't believe I'm an expert, but I'd be willing to be on the committee and offer feedback. I don't have the
Okay.
expertise, but I will do
But
that.
you will be by the time you're done with the committee.
There you go.
And this is Joe Harrington. I wouldn't mind being on that also. I obviously technologically that's not a strength of mine, but I do deal with a lot of issues with communication, and I've had my own concerns with the website, and so I wouldn't mind sitting in on that also.
Absolutely. And I think that building administrators, should definitely be a part of this, or, designate who they want to attend. But I just want to make sure we have at least two board members setting. So I foresee it being a couple board members, building administrators, Chris, Greg, and Shannon. So you kind of have all the players at the table. So Kristen Ross.
I'll volunteer to at least, especially if we can start these meetings sooner rather than later. That would be good. I think the sooner we can, if we have some time in the summer to kind of work through some of this stuff, and maybe before the school year is over, I would like to hear from teachers too, especially those who maybe have some technological knowledge as well, that would like to have some input, and who could potentially identify students maybe to like Kristen said, do some of the actual, future work on keeping things up to date that's happening at the classroom level or the grade level or whatever would be appropriate. So that would be, I think, pretty cool to start that off in the fall and offer that as sort of something students could be involved with.
Okay, that sounds great.
I'd be happy to join as well.
Okay, so I think it's building administrators, Kristen Whitman, Kristen Ross, Greg, Shannon, and Chris. So I'll leave it at that and allow Chris to put some dates out there with all of you to arrange your first meeting. All right, thank you. The second or new business is graduation end of year activities. Who wants to address that?
So I'll quickly address this, and then we can let the building administrators fill in, I guess. So we're just giving a brief updates. We currently do not know what the guidance is going to look like for the end of the year. We do expect, I think we've all kind of heard, if you follow Dan French, Governor Scott, they're tweeting, these things out about, social distancing possibly being minimized, to the high school from 6 to 3 feet. And what that may look like. I know that we've heard their aspirations statewide about in-person learning, particularly as we move towards the end of the year. We met, I've met with both the elementary and the 7 through 12 principals last week to discuss graduation, and we felt that, we look at what we did last year. I think across the board, I think we did a great job of considering the circumstances, recognizing our seniors and our sixth graders and our eighth graders for their accomplishments, and provide them with as nice of ceremonies as we could possibly have considering the circumstances. And I think that moving forward, we have a template from which to work from. But we know that obviously we would like to see more families, if possible, be able to attend ceremony. If we could, obviously we could do that in a safe and responsible way that still meets the guidelines. So a lot of it today is just really just say we are working on this, that we are waiting on guidance. I know that senior parents are anxious because they want to know what the end of the year is going to look like, particularly graduation. And as we have more details, we will provide that with them. I know that there have been some questions about prom and end of the year dances and things along those lines. As of right now, we don't see a way in which we can do a prom or an end of the year dance. Obviously, that guidance may change. We have heard of some SUs who are proposing the idea of having a prom on graduation night, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that's a recipe for disaster because once they have that diploma in hand, they're really no longer ours. And so it's just, I think that, if the senior group want to have a dance, once they've diploma, they can do whatever they want. I mean, all summer long, they can have a dance every night of the week if they really wanted to. We can really stop them. But I think we really just to look at, recognizing that for our senior class, and I know we have sixth grade, eighth grade, as well, but, really for the senior class, that this is the culmination of a career that they've been looking forward to for a very long time. And we're still committed to make it as special as possible this spring, considering the circumstances. That if we can't do a dance, we'll find other ways to provide some end of the year activities, which they could still unify and remember that, that the spring of 2021 wasn't all just a kind of a lost cause for them. It's been a rough year for our kids, so we just want to make sure they end on a positive note, and our principals are committed to that. So I don't know if any of the principals want to add to any of that. Have any thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
So I met with the senior class officers a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Harrington and I did, and they had some ideas. And we reiterated what Superintendent Sell said was we are waiting for more guidance somewhere around April 1st. Once we get that guidance, then we can circle back up with them and try to have the student voice in graduation as we move forward. And I also noticed in my Friday newsletter to the families that we would be doing an eighth grade graduation, eighth grade promotion. Let me be clear on that, eighth grade promotion before the end of the school year. We just need to, again, wait for guidance on that. Thank you.
So for parents that are listening, what I'm hearing is that at our April meeting, we anticipate building administrators coming along with Superintendent Sell with some kind of plan for graduation.
Well, yes, a more clear picture of what graduation will look like at our next board meeting, correct?
Okay. And do we realistically think graduation could be inside? I mean,
realistically, probably not. I think just
Okay.
given the guidance, so I think the outdoor ceremony would be the best option, to be honest. I think, in looking at what West Rutland, Poultney, and Proctor were able to do last year, I think we could, you could find ways of having families sit in pods, in areas, and so they could still see their kid. And in fact, I think, just speaking on behalf of the Proctor from last year, the kids really enjoyed it. And I think there were some new traditions that we started that some of the kids want to see continued. Some of them, not so much, but some of them, yes. So.
okay. So at the April meeting, we'll await your, the guidance and your suggestions. All right. Okay, Joe, thank you very much. All right. Any other questions about graduation? Hearing none, moving on to the consent agenda, approval of minutes. And if there's no concern, we could adopt or move all three sets of minutes together. The February 15th, 2021, the February 16th, 2021 carousel, and the February 23rd Quarry Valley informational meeting. Is there a motion to approve all three together?
This is Kristen Ross. I move to approve all three minutes as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nate. All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain
Okay.
because we weren't in attendance for the meeting. So
Right. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Approval of warrants. For new board members, warrants are sent to your email. You have the opportunity to review them. If you have questions, you can email Lewis with those questions. A motion would be in order to approve the warrants.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants.
Motion by Nate, second.
Seth will second.
I'm really struggling for the seconds here tonight. All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Superintendent's report.
Thanks, Lisa. I just have a few items to discuss tonight. Obviously, the past few weeks, I've been finishing up preparations for the Quarry Valley informational meeting and the budget votes. Meeting was held on February 23rd. Presentations were made by myself, Lewis, and our Quarry Valley administrators, Kristen Caligiuri, Joe DeBonis, Christy Clutie, Joanne Canning, and Jay Slenker. We would like to thank the community members of Pulte, Proctor, West Rutland for their continued support of our schools and voting yes on our school budget. We greatly appreciate the support and the assistance, and we hope that this continues in the future. We had the next round, or the COVID testing took place March 10th, last Wednesday. So we are starting to see the results come in. As of right now, we have not heard of any positive results. I think staff members should have received probably over the weekend their results. So things were looking good. As I said, with each one of these tests, it is just a snapshot. It just let us know on March 10th, on that day, that everything's good. So we continue to take it on a day-by-day basis and just continue address situations as they come up. Vaccinations. Today was the first day for our vaccinations, March 15th, which was Pfizer. We have our second round, or the second scheduled date of March 22nd, which is the Johnson & Johnson. I do believe that we have additional dates, March 29th, and we just received a notice today from the state that there are 4 more dates that are open up across the state, but they're in places like St. Albans and down in Bennington. So their staff would have to drive a little bit. So if a staff member was not able to get on the 15th, 22nd, or the 29th, they will have some other opportunities for that. So the vaccinations taking place at the Rutland Holiday Inn for the GRCSU staff. And then the last thing I have really is just a copy of the legislative update. There is a lot going on in the legislature, so just for the new board members, there's a report that came out a couple weeks ago. I could send you the report number 1, but this is just some light reading for you, just to kind of take a look at, keep abreast of what's happening in both the Senate and the House. And I would also just like to welcome, Mike Moser and Jessica Grabowski to the board, and just a congratulations to Kristen and Seth and Lisa on their reelection. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to principals' reports. Christy?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. You can see my principal's report. We've been having virtual things. So we had a virtual kindness assembly that our school counselor hosted, which was very successful in grades K through 4. You can take a look through my report if anybody has any questions. Just scanning through, I don't really have a whole lot. I have joined the VPA Association Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. It's a newly formed committee that will be meeting bi-weekly, and they are going to look across the state to increase supports into schools. So that's really exciting and something new. Does anybody have any questions while looking at my report? Just trying to speed things along for you.
Yeah, I would be interested though if you could give a little synopsis when you come back from the VPA diversity committee meetings. We had parents come several times about that to kind of give us a little insight what you're looking at, and maybe that's a committee we're going to want to look at creating as a subcommittee here. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we'll let the VPA do a little bit of the road work for us.
I can definitely give reports after each meeting that we have.
All right. Thank you, Christy. Kristen.
Hi, everybody. You also have my written report. It's quite detailed. I will highlight a couple things from it. Teachers are in the process of reviewing data right now in student work samples so that we can send out our summer school information. The dates right now are July 5th through the 29th. So that's already in the works. We're working on grade configurations and teacher assignments. Typically what I'll do is have a plan A and plan B, and then we will discuss it as a staff. So more information will be coming for you next month. Our SBAC schedules are all set for grades 3 through 6. They will start May 24th and go through the 28th. We've already started taking names for kindergartners, and for pre-K, we have 12 on our roster so far. And lastly, I'd like to say special thanks to Mr. Holcomb and the maintenance crew, because they are going above and beyond, not only for COVID and everything that they're doing, but they're also, they've helped the technology department install Promethean boards so that we can get things moving. And I just want to give them a big thank you. And that's all.
Great. Thank you. Joanne.
Good evening, everyone. I'd be happy to answer any questions about my report, but one thing I'd like to emphasize is that we got some good guidance from the Agency of Education about opening up our music program. And while we're not fully prepared to institute something like band in the current year, we have been talking about what it will mean and the kinds of space and equipment that we need to move forward. We're really excited about instituting our variety night. It's going to be virtual this year. It won't be in person, obviously, but Christy has been very creative in trying to offer ways that the community and the kids can come together and have as typical as possible the variety night, and that information is in the newsletter. And also, I wanted to give Christy a lot of credit for the articles that she wrote about music departments and how they've evolved in times of COVID. And it gave Proctor High School a little bit of press as well. So I hope you enjoyed reading that article.
Great, thank you. Jay.
Well, good evening, everybody. As everyone else has said, I've included my report. I have actually a couple of updates. We actually did get these filters that go over the horn part of our instruments. They came in the other day, and we actually brought the kids outside the other day to just hear some music, and we are now following those guidelines that the state has laid out. So that's pretty cool. And I submitted this report last Wednesday, and Thursday we did get the green light that we were to start SBAC testing. So it says that we were waiting for guidance. We now have that guidance. Our schedule, because of being a K-12 school, we have multiple grades that need to test. And West Rutland, it takes us about 5 to 6 weeks to do testing. So we're actually beginning next week. We already had a schedule that had been set. We put it on hold, and it was delayed by about a week. We have just a lot of very positive things going on. So I I think the highlights, as I put, we had a great faculty meeting the other day where we actually sat down and looked at MAPS data holistically as a building. MAPS is an assessment data that all GRCSU schools take, and we are looking at our data from last fall to this winter. And we saw really nice gains. And one of my goals is to start having rich conversations around the use of data. Not only do, what do we do when we collect it, but what are we going to do with it? So it was actually a really good feel-good moment, and it was led by two teachers, Jamie Levy, a reading interventionist, and Amy Torrey, my math interventionist. So, and just want to give a shout out to all the Quarry Valley teams as they begin playoffs here in basketball. And we already have people asking about baseball and softball and track and field. So all in good time, but lots of great things as always at West Rutland School. I don't know if anybody else or anybody has questions. Be more than happy to answer them.
All right, hearing none. Thank you very much. And we will move on to personnel. So you received an email this afternoon, or maybe early morning, I can't remember, from Wendy that has a list of contracts in it. Did everyone receive that? That's what we're going to be looking at. Contract recommendations. Starts with professional staff at the top. Does anybody have any questions on that document?
Yeah, just a quick explanation on the additional class planning time line items, please.
Okay. Did you hear that, Chris?
Yeah. So, okay, go ahead. So this is for, we have an individual in one of our schools who is out for a medical leave. And so we have these two staff members who have decided to step up and cover the class. And they go on above and beyond their own, their current duties. So they are handling the planning, the preparation, the curriculum, and the oversight. So in the long run, save, it's not saving us money, but they're really kind of helping out. So that's what the additional duties really are. Christy, if you want to add something to that, because it's in your building.
Yeah, no, and a lot, like during April break, they spend a significant amount of time planning for this unexpected coverage. So that is also part of the payment form.
Okay, I missed something. So is it a staff member who's out for medical reason, and these staff members are compensating?
Yeah, so the two teachers that are getting compensated, one's my behavior specialist and the other is a literacy interventionist. So they're both tag teaming to cover for a classroom teacher who's out on medical leave.
Yeah, so when they tag team, are they doing this in conjunction with one another or one at a time? Because $60 an hour is what that turns into.
Well, no, they're not getting paid for working. They're getting paid for planning for this class because they're also doing their own job as well. This is only for planning purposes.
Okay, but however, so they're doing some work which is outside of their normal hours, which are being clocked, or I'm just going to say tracked separately as planning time, right? So and for each individual, it's $30 per hour. If they're doing it in a team in conjunction, that becomes a $60 per hour planning bill for that classroom planning scenario if they're sitting there doing it together. So I'm yeah, okay.
So Seth, there might be some times where they're sitting there together, but there are a lot of times where it might be one individual is doing all the planning. They're taking turns doing the planning.
And actually, one is teaching math and one is teaching literacy. So the behavior specialist.
You're looking at an additional $30 per person per day, right? Not more. That's not. You're looking at more than that?
No, it depends. So like during April break, they came in and they were getting paid $30 an hour during April break. It's not every day that they get planning hours covered. It was just to kind of get caught up. It may be like 3 hours a week above and beyond their current job. So it may be $90 a week.
Yeah, I think I'm understanding. Yeah. So yeah, I understand. It's a basically. So keep helping me out here. You're proposing this. Do you feel that this is a more economical option versus a replacement teacher?
I think it would be almost impossible to find a replacement teacher given this time of year, and expecting them to just jump right in with instruction and remote teaching. And so I decided to use my own staff to do that. They're trained, they know exactly what's going on. I thought it was in the best interest of the kids, honestly.
Okay, great. Now I think I fully understand the scenario. Thanks.
Okay, so that covers the top three. What about the interim union teachers contracts? Any questions over that?
This is Kristen Ross. There's one highlighted there, Chris. I don't know if that was just left in for another reason or.
That's because she went to full time.
Okay.
Went from a 0.9 to a 1.0 FTE.
So that's just highlighting the change there.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What about extracurricular? Are there any questions? They're all pretty much spring coaching contracts. Any questions on those? Hearing none, a motion would be in order to approve all contract recommendations.
This is Kristen Ross. I'll move to approve all contract recommendations as presented.
Second.
Kristen Whitman, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Resignations, and I know there's one in here, but I just closed my file. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was the 1-year contract at the Pulteney High School music.
Yeah, I can't see. Erica Tyler.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the.
So a motion would be in order to accept her resignation.
I will make the motion.
Motion by Seth, second.
I will second that.
Second by Nate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to finance. Is Lewis here with us? Oh,
Lisa,
sorry.
do we want to, I do have a recommendation for the principal position. And I don't know if we want to wait till the end, because if you want to go to executive session to discuss and come back out, or what would you like to do?
Is she here with us now?
She is here, yes.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce her, and if there are any questions then regarding the contract, we will move into executive session at the end of the meeting. But other than that, other questions, of course, you could ask. So go ahead.
Okay, so we had a very extensive list of candidates this year for the principal position. We had close to 25 individuals apply. It was a very strong field, and we were able to kind of whittle that down. And finally, there was one candidate who we felt was best suited for this position at this particular time. We feel, it's Jennifer McLemore, who currently is the assistant principal at Mill River Union High School. And like I said, I consider her expertise, her background, her experience, and some of the things that she's been asked to do over at Mill River. She has been a part of the equity team over there. Done a lot with equity work. Done a lot with curriculum, and obviously the proficiency based. Just there's just a lot, and I think it's one where as we sat and we looked at our candidates, overwhelmingly we all said that Jen is the right fit. We think be great with the kids, great with the staff, be the perfect person to come in and continue to take Proctor, advance there and work with the great staff we have in place, and work with Jay, Joe, and Joe, and we had another Jay, so it'd be Jen, just to further confuse me. But so I strongly recommend this candidate to the board for approval. Like I said, I think we're very fortunate, very lucky to have a candidate like this at this time. So if there are any questions, it's great. But I did send the information out to you separately this afternoon, so you would have had it so we didn't get lost in the shuffle.
So if Jen's here, maybe she could just say hi to everyone.
Hi, how is everyone? That was a great introduction, Chris. Thank you very much. I'm really excited to join the team and be a part of the Proctor community if you'll have me.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Jen? They're all.
Jeez, don't let me get off that easy.
This evening. Rarely are they this quiet.
Yeah, day after, daylight savings. I understand.
All right. Like Chris said, we had a pretty outstanding group, and it was nice to have such a large group and such a qualified group to look at, and made for couple long days, but it certainly was well worth it, and quite pleased. I think Jen will be an asset not only to our school but to our community as well. Jen lives in Rutland Town, and if you served on the GRCSU, you might have met her husband. Tim was a board member from Rutland Town, and he occasionally came to the SU. So there's that connection. That we've been pretty excited about what she has done, and what we see as the future with her at Proctor, as well as just continuing to create what I think is a dynamic team with our building administrators, and that's something that we've really focused on. Joanne? Oh, I thought Joanne had her hand raised. So we will.
I think Mike has a question.
I think his hand has just been up since before. Did you have a question, Mike? No, I think it was just up from the first time.
You just have to hit it again for it to go away. If you hit the raise hand again, it'll go away.
There you go. Great. Thank you. So we will go into Joanne. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, it keeps going up by accident. Sorry.
Oh, okay. We will go into executive session at the end of the meeting and discuss contractual agreements. But thank you very much, Jen, for coming. And Chris will be in touch with you tomorrow morning, and we're very excited to welcome you to the Quarry Valley team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is Lewis with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. You're so quiet, Lewis. I didn't know you were here. I'll turn the meeting over to you, Lewis.
Okay, thanks. So I have 3 things on the agenda for tonight. So the first one is approve the CRF subgrant. So back last spring, we received CRF money, federal money, to be able to pay for things like PPE, our building subs, maintenance supplies, technology supplies. So that was one grant that came to the SU. And what we did is we ended up subgranting pieces of that to each of the districts, which made it easier for them to spend. They could hire the people right at the district level. They can place the orders. In order to do that, just for paperwork purposes, now that the grant is complete, we've submitted for reimbursement. We have received all of our reimbursements for it, which was approximately $800,000 for the SU. I'm just doing the paperwork to clean everything up and make sure we have everything on file for the future. So this is a subgrant agreement just saying that the SU is subgranting this money, which is $71,000 to Quarry Valley, and that Quarry Valley is accepting it. So I would just be looking for an approval at this level, and then I'll also be bringing the same document to the SU meeting for approval, and then just having signatures. Again, it's just paperwork to have on file in case we're monitored by the feds.
So a motion would be in order to accept the
I'll make that
71,000. Motion by Nate, second.
Kristen Ross, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is Proctor Lawn Care. So we went out to bid for lawn care for the Proctor schools last year. It was for July. We were trying to do a 3-year bid for July, starting in July 1 for 3 years. We did get several bids back. The board could not come to a consensus last spring on a vendor to choose. So in the end, we decided to just go with, we picked the vendor and decided we were just going to give them a trial run, which was just from July 1 through the end of the mowing season, which is approximately November 1st or November 15th. So I have spoken with the schools. They are happy with the service that was done. And so I have spoken with the vendor, and they're willing to extend the current prices for the next 3 years. The agreement and the prices were in the agenda. So I'm recommending that we just renew the contract for another 3 years with Carpenter and Costin at the same rates as the original bid from April 22nd, 2020.
Any questions?
Just a clarifying question, just for note taking. Louis, you said, so starting July 1, 2021, or whenever the mowing season would start, this current year for a total of 3 more years, or does last year count as the first year? Sorry.
So it'd be 3 new years.
Okay.
And so typically when I do lawn care contracts, I do them for a mowing season, so which crosses fiscal years. The old contract was based on a fiscal year, so it ended June 30th. So the new vendor started July 1st and did the rest of the season. So I'm looking at 3 mowing seasons, which would be this mowing season and then 2 more. And then we would need to look for, so again, they cross fiscal year. So we would need to look for somebody to finish out the next fiscal year after that 3 years.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, a motion would be in order to go with Carpenter and Costin for 3 years at the same rate as the prior year.
Kristen Whitman, I'll make that motion.
Second.
And Kristen Ross, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. And then the last item is a solar agreement. So about 5 years ago, the Proctor schools underwent a performance lease, which they, Johnson Controls came in and looked at all of the energy controls in both schools. So they looked at lighting, heating, electrical, and it was approximately like a $1.5 million lease, and they did a lot of work in both schools. Part of those projects was to put solar panels on the roof at, I think it's just Proctor Elementary School. Though the warranty with the original installer was for 5 years. That 5 years is now up. So they sent me an agreement for an annual maintenance contract to monitor the solar outputs, to monitor the solar panels themselves, the hardware, the software, the wiring, and all that. I have spoken with Johnson Controls, who was the original engineer of the project. And I've also spoken with Same Sun, who was the installer, the one that gave us the agreement. And we don't have to do the agreement every year if we chose not to. Since the panels are relatively new still, I mean, we're only 5 years old, we could say do a maintenance agreement for 1 year and then skip 2 years and then do another year, just to make sure so that we have some periodic maintenance on it, making sure that the panels are the outputs being monitored, make sure that they're still operating properly. But that's really, I wanted to bring it to the board to make sure that So it wasn't something that the board agreed upon. It is about $2,000 for 1 year, for a 1 year contract. So it's not extremely cheap. So I just wanted to make sure that there was a consensus on how to proceed. I would recommend doing a contract every 3 years. So 1 year on, 2 years off, so that there is some maintenance.
Discussion?
Is there, this is not a warranty on product though, is it? Just a service contract?
Correct.
Well, wouldn't the power company tell us whether or not we're getting anything out of them or not?
The power company would not tell us. I mean, if somebody was at the schools were reviewing the bills closely from month to month and the output and comparing it from year to year, because the output does change over the course of the year depending on the seasons, then to some degree, a layman can read that data and analyze it. But it's more than just that. It's also getting up on looking at the panels and making sure that there's no damage to them. That's why I don't think at this point it's necessary. We just came off the warranty, so I'm thinking like a 3-year cycle, and we don't have to start that cycle now. We can start it at some point in the future. We can skip next year, do it, and then skip 2 more years. Whatever the board's pleasure is.
So do we have a current report that says all the panels are good?
Nothing that I have, but the school may have some reports.
And this
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I do not have anything.
So in this service agreement includes some sort of report, correct? And 99% I just listen to you say that. But
So the agreement includes it's a torque checking, thermal imagery, visual inspection, removal of inverter covers to check for pest damage, on-site maintenance if there's a problem, and then after the visit, a report with recommendations, and then a whole bunch of other stuff that's below.
then from my perspective, and based off that good question about knowing where we are right now, I'm thinking it may not be a bad idea to do something now. Then we have a baseline report on where we are. Then we can potentially look at when we engage the next contract, like you say, whether we skip a year, skip 2 years, get back to it. But if we don't really know the exact state of affairs right now, it simply throws a little more risk on top of what that is next year or whenever we get around to it. And it is since it's a significant infrastructure investment, was at the time. When you look at the whole big picture, yes, $2,000 is not a cheap line item. However, prolonging that life and being able to do preventive and predictive maintenance on it rather than having oh no moments go a really, really long way. So I'm in favor of definitely doing it in some fashion. And I think that would be good to have that baseline report, but happy to hear everybody's ideas about when we want that baseline report, whether that's now or in a year or two.
So on the report, just one thing I will add. So there is a report that Johnson Controls was giving us for the first 3 years. And we discontinued that because that was a cost of about $8,000 a year for them to generate a report. And that was a full report on all of the items that were changed, the lighting, the boilers. And we based the cost versus what the added benefit of getting that report was and decided it wasn't worth it. So I think we do have some baselines, and there is software programs that come with the installation of the solar where we should have access to that, where we can review what the output was over the course of the year. So we can get that data. I don't know if there's been a physical inspection of the panels in the last year or not. I don't know if you would know that, Christy, or Joe would know that.
I feel like I would know that, and I do not believe that has happened.
usually if there's nothing wrong with it, I mean, if there's nothing wrong, they won't come. There's no reason to, especially with such a new system. It's only 5 years old.
Any thoughts from, I'm just going to throw this. Do we want to even maybe potentially, or can we table this?
I guess my question is, I know here that I have service contracts for inspection and such. And in having that contract, if something does go wrong, there's a cost advantage to me for the repair. Is there anything like that built into that contract, i.e. A panel gets shattered or something like that? Is there a cost advantage to having the contract versus just inviting them out to do the repair?
Yes. So the agreement that was in the package, there's a few pieces. So there's 1 hour of on-site maintenance at no cost, and then a reduced service call cost of $105 an hour compared to the regular $120 an hour. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of other things that are listed. They're not all quantifiable.
Do we need to decide this tonight, Louis?
We do not.
Could we table it? I have to say, honestly, I didn't read through that well enough to be able to make an informed decision this evening. Is anyone else? If the board's ready to make a decision, I'm not going to hold you up, but.
I'd make a motion to table.
Yeah, I like holding too, and I'll dive in a little deeper, and I might maybe even ask a couple more questions about some of the stuff we do have available.
And I could reach out to the vendor in the meantime to see when last time physical inspection was done and what the output levels have been.
Or if they have some kind of report as well.
Okay.
So motion by Mike, seconded by Seth to table this until the April 19th meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Thank you very much, Louis. The next meeting is April 19th. And I'm sure we'll be meeting like this again and continue to meet this way for new board members. I would say at least until July. Hopefully by then, perhaps something will change and at some point we can meet in person and have a retreat. There were several policies in your packet. 3 of them, it's the second reading, so we'll need a motion to approve those. So those would be the board superintendent relationship, the harassment, hazing, and bullying prevention of students, electronic communication between employees and students. Are there any questions, comments, concerns about those 3 policies as presented? This is the second reading for those policies. Hearing none, a motion would be in order to approve those 3 policies.
I will make that motion.
Motion by Nate, second.
Seth will second.
Second by Seth. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So it is only the first reading for the other policies. Title I, Part A, parental involvement, alcohol and drug-free workplace, drug and alcohol testing of transportation employees, and student drugs and alcohol. Those will then be on the April agenda. Are there any questions or concerns about those policies, though, in the first reading that could be addressed and then sent back to the policy committee? Hearing none, we will see those on the April agenda then. Future agenda items. you can always email future agenda items to Chris or myself. We have the new board member set up with SU emails, Chris.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. All right.
And how
If
this is Tom from White. How do the two new ones get all their email stuff?
Neil, one of the tech guys should have reached out to them with the instructions. So if they don't, so Mike, Jessica, if you still have an issue with that, just reach out to me tomorrow or send me an email. We'll get you set up. Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, if there's nothing else, if I could have a motion to go into executive session at 7:22 for personnel contracts.
And who do you want, and who do we need to stay?
We just need the board and Chris. And Seth, did you have a motion you wanted to make?
Yes, I'd make the motion to offer the position of principal for Proctor High School to Jennifer McElmore.
Is there a second?
Kristen Ross, I'll second.
All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, Chris, and so you'll be in contact with her tomorrow, Chris?
Correct. I'll probably send her a text tonight and I'll touch base with her tomorrow because we'll start onboarding her.
Great. All right, is there anything else that needs to come before the board?
Can I just throw out an idea and we can discuss later? That's something that I've been thinking about because of sort of, I'm getting a feel of sort of low or not very high morale. Maybe it's not low, but it's not very high. And COVID is obviously the big reason for that, but also pay freezes for a lot of folks and, so many people going above and beyond. I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can show a little more as a SU, show a little more, or a district, I guess. I don't know, some kind of a employee appreciation kind of program. I don't know how others feel about that, but it's not like getting a raise. It's not money in the pockets, but some kind of highlighting of particular employees that maybe building administrators want to highlight. Yes, we thank them in our meetings, which is awesome, but I'm not sure how many people watch these recordings. And I'm just wondering, we have athletic dinners when we can for athletes and award, so not like a certificate of appreciation, but I don't know, some outward expression of how much people are going above and beyond. It's just something that I've been thinking about that might help some of the morale issues that I'm sort of hearing about, at least from my building administrators. So anyway, just a thought.
The communication committee could maybe look at, and we could highlight front page, different personnel, different, like that. I know Christy does that sometimes, like in her Twitter feed and things like that. But, a lot of times if you don't have a child, I have a child in the high school, not at the elementary school, maybe you don't know everybody or all those teachers. So it's nice to kind of do something like that.
The town report also shows how long people have been employed. So that information is actually out there. So we could really take that information and employ it either like, website or some place of appreciation for them because it's already there. It's not confidential. So at least it'd be a second place of recognition because not everybody reads the town report, especially that part.
I love the idea too of like folks who've been in our district for a while. Like I know in some, Castleton University, for example, if you've been there a certain amount of time, you get a little gift, a little token of appreciation for your commitment to the district. And I think we have a lot of those folks that it would be great if it was at like 20 years, 50, something like that. Maybe we can brainstorm.
Yeah, at the end of the year in suburbs, we used to have a 5-year, 10-year like it was like 25-year retirement, and it was a nice ceremony that you had just as a group. So that'd be easy enough for us to do. It's tough, obviously, in the year of COVID, but we can still recognize them in a variety of ways. So, yep.
And they think we're having some morale problems. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think it's been a long year. I think a lot of things have taken its toll. I think, if it's, I think building by building, it's a little bit different. I think Polney schools are going through some changes and having some issues. Like there's some special ed concerns that it's really causing a fractured staff. I've met with a lot of the staff members about this. But I just think it's been a long year for a lot of people. And I think, to be honest, I think once we start getting, some of these teachers get some vaccines, some of them feel they can do a little bit of traveling or feel a little bit safer to kind of venture out. I just feel a lot of people feel like they've been trapped. I know I feel like I've been trapped, and I think it's just been a rough year. And I think the teachers are really kind of just feeling the brunt of it. Not to say that others aren't. I think it's just, but any way we can recognize. And I think it's sometimes, I'll sit there and say great, but I think they sometimes feel like I have to. But I think there are other ways of just recognizing the things they're doing. So.
Yeah, because I was kind of thinking, Tom, like, and not just teachers, but also other staff. I mean, we have front office staff that are working their butts off to keep it together in the mornings and in the, the bus scheduling. There may be people out coordinating bus ons and offs, that aren't, we have maintenance folks, custodial staff who are doing that morning. They're delivering meals or, running out on recess duty for 2 minutes while somebody goes to the bathroom, just like extra, because staffing is such an issue because of all the spacing. And I just feel like this year it would be good to start something that we could maybe uphold and not just have it be from a crisis situation. Right. And, lots of places do various forms of employee appreciation that, you recognize in front of your peers too. It's not just for the town, but I think also having a board recognition of that, because yes, teachers might come to these meetings, but a lot of folks that make our schools run every day aren't here, and because they are tired at the end of the day, they're not necessarily going to want to come to an hour or 2 hour long board meeting. So anyway, it was just an idea I had. I'm not sure how to execute it, but it was just something I wanted to sort of throw out there to see what everybody thought.
I think it sounds like a good idea, and
I like it.
I think it's something that, maybe could fall under a communication committee, because it is a piece of communication of good news out to the community. So, we can certainly address it and put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and maybe someone else, maybe create a subcommittee or something like that. Let people kind of like marinate about it and see what you come back with next meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Hearing nothing else, motion would be in order to adjourn at 7:37.
Kristen Ross, so moved.
And second.
Got that.
Seth seconds. And as always, I will take your vote by signing off. And Mike and Jessica, I hope that this was not too dysfunctional for you, and we'll see you back in April.
Okay, thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Welcome,
Bye.
bye.
Everyone. Bye.
Good night.
All right. Bye.